Now, why do we record the sessions? Well, a couple of reasons. One important reason is if you have to miss one of the modules, you can catch up on it through the recording. We love you being here live because I try to interact with you and get you writing things in, but if you happen to miss one, the recording's there. Also, if you want to go back and re-watch a case study or a little example or something like that, you can do that. So we share the recordings with everybody, which we'll take you through shortly. Little content warning, we do show some road crash scenes here, nothing too graphic, but we're just trying to learn from crashes what we can do to prevent them in the future or lessen the severity of those. So if that's something that could disturb you, I'll just give you that warning up front. Now, Emma, who are you? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, I couldn't click the mute button. Hi there, everyone. I'm Emma, and I am training coordinator at Safe Systems Solutions. You've received lots of emails from me already confirming your enrollments and registrations and links and all of that kind of thing. So if you do have any questions around the admin side of things or the logistics side of things, feel free to either give me a call or shoot me an email. My details are there on the screen and I can certainly assist you. All our content and your assignments and everything is housed in our learning management system. So I did send an email last week and yesterday about logging into our learning management system, and many of you have logged in already and said welcome, so welcome again. If you haven't received an email from Safe Systems Solutions with your login details, just check your junk or your spam folder just to see if it's there. Those sorts of emails often go there. Or if you have participated in a program with us in the past, your login details remain the same, but the link has changed, and I provided that new link yesterday. But it's still, if you can't find any of that, or if you haven't received any details, certainly shoot me an email and I can resend that and reset passwords and all that kind of thing for you. And I'll show you around our learning management system a little later. Now, as Ken mentioned, we are using the Zoom webinar version, so we can't see you and your microphone's not turned on for this. So relax, have your snack boxes that we've sent you and all of that sort of thing. All questions and quizzes that will happen throughout this, we use our chat function, and I can see that it is working today, so that's good. I haven't needed, that's all working well. So if you have any questions, just pop them in the chat box and I will certainly let Ken know that there is a question there throughout the program. We welcome all of your participation through that chat function. Some organisations don't have the chat function working in their Zoom account, so feel free to use the Q&A and I'll also monitor that for you. I think that's probably enough for me for a while, Ken.
Thanks, Emma. And really do encourage everybody to be using that chat function throughout. Don't wait for me to say, does anybody have any questions? Because by the time you type it, I'll have moved on, and then it'll be, so just as you're thinking about it, type it in there. We love it if you also use the little drop down and share it with everybody. So you can just go to hosts and panelists, but if you go to everybody, then everybody can see the question, or you might be commenting on something. So we get that nice bit of chat going on in the background. Usually in-person training, I try and make sure the chat is kept to a minimum when I'm presenting something, and then we have different things. But in this one, we like a bit of chat going on behind the scenes. That's excellent. There is an opportunity for you to be able to unmute yourself and talk to us if you need. And there are a few opportunities in the session, and you can do that by raising your hand there, and then we'll find you and give you the ability to unmute yourself. No ability for your camera to come on whatsoever in this, but yeah. Now, and Emma is your go-to for anything in the admin, management, logistics, any technical issues or anything like that. Get in contact with Emma. And this is the learning management system that Emma mentioned, and you have to have access to this. You cannot successfully complete this course without access to the learning management system. So if you haven't got it, get access. And if you haven't seen anything, get in contact with Emma. Okay, there's a couple of us that will be running the technical part of the course. Myself, That's me there, Ken Beer, Principal Engineer at Safe System Solutions, and I've been involved in road safety auditing for a long time now. I previously worked at Vic Roads, the Victorian Road Authority, and one of my roles there for a few years included managing road safety auditing policy and doing reviews of road safety audits and auditing as well. And my colleague Jamie Robinson, he actually started at Vic Roads with me back in the day. He's our technical lead at Safe System Solutions now, and he's an extremely experienced road safety auditor and really fantastic at those very technical and detailed design road safety audits. And so I've asked Jamie to run one of the sessions on the detailed design road safety audits, but we'll get to that. But our contact details are there. I'm your go-to if you have questions about the technical content. If you're struggling with an assignment or something like that, get in contact with me, shoot me an email, a text, and we can organise a one-on-one catch-up if you want, a Zoom catch-up or a phone call or the like, and we'll get you through that. I've also put a little QR code there to my LinkedIn. I do like to continue the road safety conversation, and we share a lot of different content online, trying to continue to build capability, capacity in industry, and that's one of the platforms we use to do it. So feel free to connect with me so we can continue that conversation. I'll put that QR code down the bottom corner on the next few slides as well for you. Okay, a couple of little things to keep you engaged, hopefully, in the session. We've got a few little tricks up our sleeve here. One is Wally the Wombat. You can see Wally the Wombat there, Wally the Wombat warning sign. Your job is to count how many times you see that warning sign, Wally the Wombat, throughout the sessions. So each session you will count the times you see that. And then at the end of each session, we have a little online quiz for you through the learning management system. It's got 10 questions. One of those questions is how many times did Wally appear? And so you keep a track of Wallies, and yeah, so get a little notepad or something or a pen and get ready to go. Now this is not one of the Wallies. That's just what they look like. So keep an eye out for those. Wally count currently 0. Now we have a competency benchmark for this course. So there are a few things you have to do, and then you have a pass mark. So we need you to attend 4 of the 5 live webinars. At least we'd love you to be at all 5 and interact and ask questions. But we understand if you can't make one. Now, if for some reason more than that you can't make, get in contact with Emma and she'll talk you through some options. We need you to complete all the set tasks, and we've got quizzes and exercise assignments. You've got a mock road safety audit to do as well. And we need you to get over 80%. So it sounds like a pretty high benchmark, and it is. We don't shy away from the fact that we're wanting to ensure that you have a set of competency. But if you don't get over 80%, I feel I've failed as well. So I'm not going to let that happen. And I'm going to do that by bringing your competency level up. So if you fail one, as in less than 80% assignment, you've got 2 more attempts at it. And we will provide you feedback, and then happy to give you coaching and chat through the different bits of it, ensure you understand it. And then you'll have another go at it. So let's work together on this and ensure that you get over that competency benchmark. Okay, a couple of other things. One is that we do like to give away prizes. I know many of you have been to our training courses in person, and you know we like to give away prizes and the like. We still do that in the online version. So how do we do that? How do we give prizes out? Well, we keep track of who wins prizes, and then at the end of the course you will get an electronic copy of your certificate, but you'll also get a hard copy of your certificate with any prizes you've won along the way. So you win prizes by answering the questions I ask, being the first to answer correctly, maybe asking a really great question in the chat. And before each session, we like to do a little bit of trivia, just general knowledge trivia sometimes road safety trivia, sometimes other. So that's the few minutes before the official kickoff to get people logging in early, chance to win prizes there. So a good opportunity to participate. I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the many different lands on which we're running this online training, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. And I think that gets us to a point where we've covered off most of the things you might need to know from a admin logistics perspective. But if anybody does have any questions, pop those into the chat or the Q&A if the chat's not appearing for you because your organization's firewall has decided that. Otherwise, we might get started with a little bit of content. And Emma is behind the scenes monitoring that chat. So type things in. She will feed those to me as we're going. Yeah, let's jump into it. So road safety audit course. So by the end of this module, we're going to have some definitions of road safety audit. We're going to put road safety audit into the context of a project's life cycle. We're going to differentiate between road safety audits and black spot investigations. We're going to have a look into risk and risk ratings. We'll explain the SAFE system. We'll have a chat about kinetic energy, and we're going to categorize road safety audit findings. We have a lot to cover, so I'm going to jump into it. But the first thing I want to say is that this course follows the Austroads Guide, Road Safety Part 6, Road Safety Audit, and that's that one there. Now, there was a recent release of a new version of that, and it's 2022 version, and I was technical advisor to Austroads on that one, and we're running through the newest and latest content. So many of you might have seen past versions. They're all superseded, and we're running with that one. The course overall, right? The course for all the different modules here is about outlining the process. And I stress that this is the process of this thing called road safety audit. All of the technical intricacies that you might need to know as a road safety auditor, we can't cover in the time we have. And really, that is an ongoing learning for your whole career as an auditor or the like. You're continually picking up new things, new ideas. We want you to, though, have a basic skill set as a road safety auditor to understand a few of the common things that pop up in road safety audits and a few principles to think about from what presents risk on the road network. We want you to undertake road safety audits through a safe system lens, and I'll explain that shortly. I said common examples of common issues, which we will certainly do, and I use the common issues as a way to demonstrate different principles often. We're going to think about all road users, okay? Cyclists, motorcyclists, heavy vehicles, pedestrians, cars. And within pedestrians, I mean, there's a raft of different sort of road users in that, scooter riders, people in wheelchairs, all sorts of different ones. We'll get to that. We want you to encourage road safety auditing as one tool to improve road safety. It's highly successful. I'll explain how successful it is later. And I want to answer any questions you've got about road safety auditing. Okay, Wally count is 1. I'm being nice, helping out. That's what you're looking for. Keep an eye out for Wally as we tick through the course. No more help from me though. Okay, I've got this diagram here, and it looks a bit complicated, but don't get too stressed out about it. I'll talk you through it briefly. It's straight out of the Austrade's guide to road safety part 6, which is road safety audit. And at the top here, it's talking about road infrastructure lifecycle. And so that's everything from the idea of sort of planning your road network to what are we going to improve, what new things are we going to build, and all of that sort of stuff, all the way up to here we're sort of operating and maintaining an existing road network. And you can see there that we've got program development, scoping, countermeasure development, and we're starting to design a project. Then we've got to deliver that project, and then the project's finished and some final checks and the like. So what we can do is inject safety throughout all of these different stages. And you can see in green here, we've got these sort of safety visions, philosophies, concepts that we try to work towards. And, general safe system principles, safety and design, movement of place or one network framework, speed zone sort of thinking. That's all sort of in that safety vision aspect. In the blue here, we've got proactive techniques. And within that is where we find the road safety auditing appears. Okay. And road safety auditing is a proactive road safety technique. Okay. We've got lots of different stages of road safety audit. I'll talk you through those shortly. But I want you to take away from this slide that road safety audit is proactive. The opposite of proactive, reactive, that is also a technique we use in road safety, but that is where we've got clusters of crashes or a crash history or a particular crash, and we're investigating it, we're looking at it, we're looking for particular crash trends, and we're trying to analyze and understand what's happened. Those are reactive road safety techniques, and you may have been involved in some of them. Black spots, a reactive road safety technique. Crash investigation, crash reduction studies. These are all reactive. You have to have a crash history before you can do those sorts of studies. Road safety auditing is proactive. We don't need to wait for crashes to happen. We can certainly look at designs or the existing road and try to intervene and make recommendations and prevent the crashes before they occur. There's this little other one, predictive techniques. I won't go into that in detail. We've got things like safe system assessments, which you may have heard of. It's another training course that we offer. And we also have things like ANRAM, OSRAP, IRR, NetRisk. There's a heap of them tools out there. I'm not going to go into the detail. If you're interested in any of those particulars of any of those, get in contact with me. I'll talk to you for days on all of them happily, but that's not the purpose of this course. But I will give a prize out, Emma. I think I'm going to give a prize out for anybody who can. You can see in there, OSRAP. Anybody can tell me what OSRAP stands for? And I'm going to get you to type it into the chat, and we will have the first one who types it into the chat will be the one who gets the prize. I can see some people putting their hand up. Thank you. We like the hand up, but we'll just go into the chat for questions that I ask, unless you want to delve into asking a question or the like. So Sean, I'm not sure if you're wanting to talk or you just want to answer that question. And if you just want to answer it, yes, okay, and it's gone now. Now we do that just to be able to keep things moving along. I would love to have a chat with you, Sean, and I'm sure we'd talk wonderful motorcycle safety infrastructure things. Okay, so Emma, fill me in. What's happening in the chat?
Yep, lots of good answers there, Ken. So Australian,
Yep, I think David's got it.
Excellent. Congratulations, David.
Yep. So road assessment programs that get category, they're RAPs, and they're sort of all based off IRAP, the International Road Assessment Program. That's the way you star rate roads, for those who have ever seen a road star rated for safety. Like your fridge gets star rated for energy, well, we can star rate roads for safety as well. That's something that we do a bit of star rating as well, but that's, again, not the purpose of this one. Now, I did think I saw a question in there around what's the difference between, key difference between proactive and reactive. Well, reactive is having to have crashes happen and then analysing what went wrong and why they happened and what we can do to prevent them. Proactive is that we don't need to wait for the crashes to happen. We can get in there before those and try to rectify the situation. Now, keep the questions and comments coming in. Emma will feed those to me as we go. But I'm going to keep picking on. I'm going to come straight in here and put up a common road safety audit misunderstanding. And I do that because a lot of people have heard of road safety auditing, okay, but don't necessarily know all the details. And the misunderstanding that I'm talking about here. So people think that a road safety audit is checking a design or a bit of road, existing road, for its conformance and compliance with the documented standards and guidelines. That is not the case. Okay, that may be part of your road safety audit, but that is not the driver of a road safety audit. Now, I'm completely sympathetic with people making this mistake because the use of the word audit immediately conjures up that vision, doesn't it? If you're going to get a financial audit, well, they're going to check, have you done everything in accordance with that specific documented law or the like, okay? But road safety audits are different to that. And what road safety audits are is really a common sense check of what is being proposed to be built or what exists that could present death or serious injury. Then within that, we start to look into some more technical details around things like, the technical details of it. Sometimes standards are not met, and we think that that could be a safety concern. Sometimes standards are met, but we are worried that that still is a safety concern. And sometimes, the vice versa. So I've put there, standards do not necessarily equal safety, okay? We know that standards are thought about and there's consideration, but there's a whole lot of reasons why getting something absolutely to the standards does not necessarily mean it's safe. It could be because there's inbuilt risk within that standard. It could be the inbuilt risk within that standard that in the context we're putting it is elevated or we believe is unacceptable. It may be that two standards connecting together cause a safety issue. And that's the kind of thing we're looking at. Now, that being said, standards often, standards and guidelines that we have documented often are a really great starting point. So we still do look at them and we like to know them as road safety auditors, but it's absolutely not a critical, or it's not the driver of road safety audits, checking compliance with standards. So let me give you that as a specific example. And I use this in our road safety barriers course as well, but on a slightly different context on this one. So here we go, we see a tragic incident and somebody's lost their life on a road, and it's not that long after this brand new motorway has opened. In fact, I'll give a prize for the first person to put in the chat which road that is. That's a little I'm going to give it to Michael there for Eastern Toll Road. Eastlink is correct. It's very good spotting. Now, why am I showing this one? Well, yes, it's a tragedy. And I think there's one immediate thing to sort of, for us all to scratch our head about is how, you know, a relatively new road. This photo's from quite a while back. We've seen somebody lose their life in going about their business traveling on it. And that's a sort of bigger picture question. But we will jump into some technical detail here. We'll say, let's say that that's a test level 4 barrier system, the MASH test level 4 barrier system. Now, this is going to start to go above some people's head, but don't worry about that at this stage. Say this is a test level 4 barrier system. Does anybody know what weight of vehicle that barrier system would have been tested at 25-degree angle, 100 km/h? Pop that into the chat and we'll see if somebody gets that. So it's a certain weight of vehicle that we would expect that barrier would contain. I'm seeing some guesses in: 65 tonne, 36 tonne, 16.5 tonne. We're getting a nice range here. Nobody's quite got that. Sean has just got it with the 10 tonne. So under the new MASH system, the manual processing safety hardware, it's a 10 tonne vehicle. Now this vehicle is going to be well over 10 tonne, especially if it's got carrying cargo. So the thing we need to look at there is, at the time, that barrier system and its configuration met all standards. It did. It met all the standards and guidelines and everything we had at the time. And the thing is that we've had somebody die there, even though everything met all of its standards. Now, to a degree for this one, I think we may have been lucky that only one person was killed, because you can see the gantry there has made a significant move. Now, if that had come down across the freeway, we would have seen a lot more people involved in some pretty serious incidents. So there's an example there of where standards have been met, yet a road safety auditor could have come in there and looked at this and said, well, we've got a barrier system and we've got a lot of large vehicles using this road. Is that the right barrier system at a point of extra high risk? Okay. So these are the sort of things road safety auditors might be thinking about. Now, some of you are probably there going, oh my God, I'm way out of my depth here. I don't know what he's talking about with test levels, and I didn't even know there were different types of barrier systems, things like that, okay? Don't get too freaked out at this stage, because you audit in teams and you ensure that you have people in your team that have technical knowledge in specific areas that can complement. But you, as a logical, common sense thinker, can ask some pretty good questions around that, can't you? You can ask, well, what's that barrier meant to do? What do we expect it to do? Well, that looks quite dangerous there. And those are all great questions as a road safety auditor. So just for interest for those that we're thinking about, that's the test level 4 vehicle, 10 tonne, and that's what we could expect that barrier system to contain in a particular configuration, angle, and the like. But anything bigger than that, we can't be sure it would contain it, and you can see there that it didn't. Let's have a look at another one. Let's have a look at another example here. So this is now a design. Okay, we're looking at a design. You won't quite be able to see much of it at this stage. I'm just giving you the high level context here. We're duplicating a road, okay? Or that's what they're planning to do. And they've handed over this design, lines on paper, and said, right, audit team, please undertake a road safety audit of this. And you can see we've got an intersection up here. Okay, we've got Chandler Highway Bridge down here. A lot of you probably know this area. This is Melbourne, for those not from Melbourne. And what we have is a massive subdivision down here. Whoop. Huge lot of stuff going on. And then we've got a new access here. So let's zoom in on that access. Okay, and it's being signalized. We can see traffic signals are going there. You can tell by some of the line marking and this sort of highish level design. We can see there that got a nice right turn lane there. And then I put a little red square as a car there. Now you're driving along or somebody's driving along at a 60km/h speed zone, and maybe they're going maybe a little bit faster than 60, 65 or something, ticking along, and they come along, they're going straight and, oh, we're in a turn lane. Now this is what we would call a trap lane. And to me, it's in there with some of the best naming of road issues we've got, because it is exactly that. You're driving along and you're happily driving along and you want to go straight, and then all of a sudden your lane traps you because it says, no, this is a turn lane now, and you've got to get out of that turn lane. And we know, and you would logically know that this area has a significant increase in sideswipe crashes and rear end crashes, because people recognize that and they try to get out, and there's cars banking and all sorts of things. This doesn't technically violate any standards or guidelines. Austroads discourages trap lane. However, from just a complete look, have we not conformed with any standards? You can't say that that's the case. However, us as road safety auditors would be looking at this and saying, we've identified it and we're going to suggest that they try to rectify this before it's ever built. Okay, we're not waiting for all the crashes to happen. We're saying proactively, we've got a trap lane here. We know that there's going to be crashes associated with this. Can we redesign it? Can we change it a little bit so that this risk is eliminated or lessened? And that's road safety auditing for you. Before I jump onto that, I'm just trying to think. Oh, I just wanted to say on this one, as a road safety auditor, I'm often very, very sympathetic to the designers, in the sense that I say, I know why they've done it. They've had, they're constrained on space. They can't acquire more land. They've got environmental, issues to deal with. They've got cultural heritage issues. They've got services, the cost implications of different things, and these projects, and any project out there on the road network, is extremely complicated and hard and challenging. But road safety auditors come in with a lens of safety, and we do in a sense have the absolute luxury of just looking at safety and commenting on safety. Now, when we come to helping with recommendations and how are we going to lessen the risk of this, that's where we might be able to, take some of those challenges into account. But because the designers here and the project team are heavily constrained by a whole lot of things, doesn't negate the fact that this is an issue, okay? And that's a mistake that often happens, is because it's really hard to not have this issue, they say we don't want it in a road safety audit report, or it's not a road safety audit, we can't do anything about it. We still highlight it and put it forward. That's our job as road safety auditors. I'll give you lots of examples of this sort of stuff as we pick along. But let's get you doing a little bit of thinking about what in the road network presents risk, okay? what I'm going to do here is we're going to jump and do something reactive. Now, as I say, this is not road safety auditing, but what it is us understanding a little bit about what factors in the road environment potentially contribute to crashes. So when we look at areas that might not have a crash history yet, or that haven't even been built yet because it's just design, we can start to look, is it going to have any of these issues? So what I'm going to do is play a crash video for you now. And then I'll play it a couple of times. But then what I'm going to ask you to do is tell me, what do you think from the road infrastructure, the road environment, may have contributed to the chance that this crash happened? So what contributed to this crash in terms of the road infrastructure and the road operation environment, okay? So what we're looking at is the rear camera, and then it'll turn to the front camera after a bit. So I'm going to play this now, and hopefully it'll stream through for you. So we'll play it a few times. Okay, I'm going to play it again and just remind you what you're going to do. And I want you to type this into the chat. What factors in the road environment and the road operation do you think could have contributed possibly to this incident? Oh, sorry. Okay. I am seeing some great stuff coming in here. So let's just have a look at that. Now I'm just reading through as these come in. I'm seeing some wonderful, wonderful thinking here. Might get Annie to expand on that one a little bit and tell me what you mean by that. And it's nice to see lots of people putting it to everybody so people can see other people's ideas. Thank you for that. But we're seeing a lot there around. We've got people who are interested in the sight lines. How much sight distance have we got out this side? So that's an interesting one. We've got the fact that it's a straight stretch of road, maybe the speed on the approach. A lot of people talking about, was there adequate warning? We've got an intersection coming up. And what are the controls at that intersection? People talking about the definition of the intersection. You know, are we sure what this intersection is and where it is, and can we see it from a good distance? Should the lighting have been on now? Some people questioning that. Scanning through here. So really good. There's one. There was one that I was hoping somebody might mention. Everything I'm seeing there, I feel is really good things to investigate as a road safety auditor. But there's this one sort of underlying issue that really, to me, typifies sort of some of the thinking road safety auditors should be doing. So if we have, and prize to David, by the way, Emma, and I'll get to explaining David's comment shortly, which is, this is a very straight section of road, and then we have the intersection, and then there's it looks like a straight section of road after it. Now, there's a little term we often use as road safety auditors and road safety practitioners, and it's a thing called visual deceit. And it's where the road environment deceives the driver or rider or walker into something that is not the case on the ground. The visual deceit in this case, we have a little bit of a see-through effect going on. And there is a very subconscious thing happening where you have a run of power poles that continues on down that road. The lighting will continue on down that road. And we see this present itself quite often with rows of trees where there's a change. And we end up with a driver sometimes realizing too late that they have to give way here. So as a road safety auditor, I sort of always look beyond and try to imagine a driver. What are they going to see? And you've really got to put yourself in the amazing amount of headspaces drivers would be in, or riders or walkers. Unfortunately, some of them are going to be very tired, some of them will be a little bit intoxicated, it might be raining, they might be lost, they might be new to the area. You know, we can't expect them to be absolutely alert to everything all the time. So the more subtle clues in the road environment of what's coming up and the like, the better. And when those subtle clues deceive the road user, we occasionally see trouble. Now, is this the case? Did that white ute driver not know that they had to give way at this intersection? Maybe. We can't be sure. But we do know from lots of good literature out there that these see-through effects exist and they can increase what we would call overshoot crashes. And we categorize crashes into two at intersections, basically. Overshoot, like this one, or restart crashes. So a restart is when a driver is absolutely aware that they have to stop and exactly where they have to stop and the like, and they either have stopped and made a very bad choice to go, or they couldn't, you know, they had their sightlines blocked or something like that, or they'd slowed down a bit and then made, you know, put the foot down to go for it. But this is an overshoot crash because there is no ability to go through that intersection in the way this ute driver has. So we saw some really good other little, I suppose, what I would consider, I was going to say more minor. They're important issues for us to look at and try to identify as auditors. Things like we've got signs blocking other signs. We mentioned, you know, sight distance is being blocked. Is that enough sight distance? We've got, is there enough advanced warning? We have sometimes people quite confused. Is this a roundabout or is this a T intersection? And if you're sort of confused a little bit by that, or you could possibly be confused by something like that in a plan, on paper, in a design or the like, it may play out that the driver, the road user is confused by that as well. And it only takes 1 in 10,000, 1 in 100,000, 1 in a million to be confused like that. And we can see death or serious injury presented to our community. But this is interesting, this one, isn't it? Let's take the next step forward and say, okay, now the crash is happening. Well, we've had this post, this light pole break away, haven't we? It's quite interesting. this is a slip-based pole. And that's a decision by somebody within this project to use a slip-based pole at this location. And I think that decision has probably prevented serious injury, if not death, to the driver of the little four-wheel drive going through there, or the little, whatever it is, the XC60. No. Anyway, that bluish car. The reason for that is if that was rigid, all of that energy would have been transferred to the driver very quickly. But the fact that it breaks away and that vehicle can go those extra meters and dissipate its energy over a little bit more distance is hugely beneficial, especially when we think about the different energy equations which we might.
Can questions come through? Oh, sorry.
Yes, right.
Just how much before the intersection did the painted arrows first appear? So you might need to go back and have a look.
Well, we would have to watch the video again. But those are good questions to ask, aren't they? I mean, is there enough warning? Did we see advanced warning signs at the intersection and the like? I mean, I like to sort of think about fundamental geometry rather than as a starting point, and then we get to signs and lines and the like. But yeah, there's two sets of the arrows there. Now, some people get quite sort of, I mean, I use this example because it's got interesting road feature characteristics. We've got the ute driver going a little bit fast and the like, and people can get fixated on that. But as a road safety auditor, we're interested in driver behavior, but we're doing it from the perspective of the infrastructure and what can we do with the infrastructure to lessen this risk. The fact is there's lots of people out there driving like that white ute driver, and people, really great people, are working on trying to lessen the amount of that and improve things. We have some say in the road environment and what it may contribute into this sort of stuff, and we've got to look at what we can do with that.
Yeah,
so good question.
Yeah, and another comment has just what you were saying, Ken, around the design and things. So just a comment of type of frangible light pole is important in different conditions. So we've got great engagement in this. It's great.
Who said that?
Robert, Bob, actually, the type of frangible light pole is important in different conditions.
Well, Bob can have a prize for sort of predicting where I was going to go with this, because that is important. And I do want to ask some questions to the group on this. First of all, for those who aren't familiar with frangible light pole systems or frangible pole systems, the slip-based pole is a very common type here. And I've got a little diagram of a slip-based pole there, which is essentially some brilliant engineering. The bolts on the outside are holding the torque, the wind load. But when it's struck at the base, it shears. It's got a shearing plane. Now, there's a few little important aspects to that. So first thing, as a road safety auditor, and you can see Max here, who's one of our senior road safety auditors, out there, a post-construction audit of a roundabout. And what he's actually doing there is just checking the shearing height of that slip-based pole. He just wants to make sure that it's not far too high, because if it was too high, the vehicle may snag on the bottom and the whole thing is useless. If it's too low, it's less of an issue, but nonetheless, we don't like to see it too low. And the worry with it too low is it could get embedded in the ground a bit, or it's just not going to shear at the same spot. And he's just got a little marking on our barrier there of the slip-based pole height it should be, and some slight tolerances in there. Okay, so that's slip-based poles. Okay, and you might be given a design to audit in your team, and it could look like this, the lighting plan amongst the many other plans, and you're looking at them and you're saying, okay, they're going to put new lighting poles here, 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 and here. What type of lighting poles are they going to use? Okay, using slip-based poles. That's good. Yep. Okay. That's going to help out. And that's going to be excellent. Now, what if you looked at the design of this area when it was a design before they built the upgrades around the Victoria Gardens area, and they'd said, you know what, we're going to do that as a slip-based pole because we're all about road safety and we're all about ensuring that the occupant of the vehicle doesn't, stop abruptly and have all of that energy put into the human body. So they've gone with they're saying we're going to use a slip-based pole. As a road safety auditor, would you have any thoughts around that? Any concerns? Anything that you might point out? Okay, this group is great. Lots of good stuff there. I think Tim's going to get our prize there. First one to sort of pop in there some concerns around where this will fall. Okay, so is it going to fall onto areas where pedestrians are? Now, not too many pedestrians in this photo, but there's a lot of pedestrians in this area often. So we've got to think about that. Is it going to fall onto pedestrians? Is it going to fall onto overhead power lines, onto tram lines and the like? So thinking beyond just that initial impact and how this is all going to happen. And so we really need to start to make decisions around that and help out as road safety auditors in that decision making. A lot of designers are excellent at this and they do a wonderful job. And we don't report anything because we think it's all very good, but sometimes we don't. There is another type of pole, and it's within what we call the frangible pole suite. Now, what does frangible mean? Well, it means to break away on impact or to collapse on impact, and it's a term that we use, every day in road safety auditing and road safety engineering, and the public doesn't know what we're talking about if we talk to the public, but it's certainly a term we use, frangible. So there's another pole type within the frangible pole suite. So we talked about slip-based, but there's another type. Does anybody know that? Pop it into the chat if you do. So slip-based and another one. We'll give that to Tim as well, or Bob's clarified it as well. Both Tim and Bob have got prizes on this already, so I'm gonna no prizes, Emma, on that one. But and combined, they sort of got it. Impact absorbing was what we would talk about, an impact absorbing pole. So it's similar principles, except for it doesn't shear away. It takes the energy and it envelopes the vehicle within that. So it crushes, but it doesn't shear through. Now, why is this one interesting? Well, you contain the pole in a more enveloped area, so that's an important consideration in that. But if the vehicle is going at high speed, it doesn't give us that ability for the vehicle to just continue on through. And so what we have is this sort of rule of thumb of high speed environments. You use the slip-based poles where they are going to shear away completely. And in lower speed environments, you either use impact absorbing like this one, if you're concerned about vehicle occupant safety, or you would just use a rigid pole that you know is not going to come down as long as it's a low speed environment where the energy for the vehicle occupant is going to be low enough that it's not going to kill or seriously injure them. And as road safety auditors, we are reviewing plans and where they're making decisions about poles and thinking about all of this and weighing it up and deciding whether we believe that presents a risk to the community. So little common findings there in audits that you're concerned about where the slip-based will fall or the height of existing ones. Now, throughout the slides, and you've got these PDFs in the learning management system, we often put little links to safe system snippets that we've done on this topic with a little bit more information. So when you download the PDFs, you can click on the hyperlink and it'll take you to a little bit more info on this topic. And those will be throughout the course.
Emma, a question that came up around the White Ute video that we viewed not long ago is a question from Jamie's come through on the Q&A. What would you suggest to mitigate this see-through effect in this case? I know it's going back a little bit.
It's a good question because it sort of leads into some discussion we'll get to around what we recommend as road safety auditors and how we go about recommending things. Because there are lots of different ways to lessen that risk. And everything from actually, okay, there is a see-through effect, but there's some very minor things that could be done, including advanced warning and different things like that to try to lessen that, so we alert them to it. There could be modifications to the geometry of the intersection, such as staggering it, where we actually change the alignment of the road slightly so it doesn't look straight down that road. We have the ability to use stockpiles of dirt and the like to block off see-through effects. We may want to move power poles, even very expensive, but in some situations that kind of thing can be done. If you get to these at design stage though, it's a lot easier. It's so much easier when they're lines on a bit of paper or in CAD, and you can start to alter those things. Once it's all built like that, it's existing, it's very expensive and hard to alter them. We will have a 2-minute break shortly, just to let you have a stretch and fill up your water and the like. But I will cover off a couple more slides because I do have a fair bit of content to get through, and then we need time for Emma to give you a little exercise to do. But road safety audit is proactive. Black spot investigation is reactive. And that I've said already once, but really important thing there. Should you look at crash history as part of a road safety audit though? Is a good question to ask. Well, the answer is it's up to you, but don't have the crash history driving your road safety audit, okay? It would just be a supporting bit of information, okay? Because if the crash history is driving your road safety audit, you are doing a black spot investigation or you're doing a crash reduction study, okay? Now, often with an audit team, I will have a look at the crash history probably near the end of our time auditing and just to see if anything different popped out, and it wouldn't be different in the sense that, well, let me explain that. Most road safety audits are done on design, so they're changing the road environment. So looking at what crash history happened on the existing road environment is somewhat irrelevant because it's all going to change. However, it is interesting to know what road users have been involved in crashes and the like, because you might say, well, wow, okay, I didn't expect that many pedestrians to be involved out here. So maybe I need to rethink, are we doing enough for pedestrians? So that's where crash history could help, but not driving it. So maybe if you were concerned about pedestrians and there was no pedestrian crashes, does not mean, like, that is still a very important finding that you put stuff about pedestrian safety, even though crashes haven't happened yet. And plus, you're fundamentally changing the road environment. So it is up to you. There's no specific guidance or requirement that you do or don't. So I'll leave it to you. And I know auditors that refuse to look at crash history. And I know auditors who very much integrate that as part of their audits. But here's a little one. A Canadian study. So there's been actually quite a few studies of road safety auditing around the world to say, well, are these useful? Are they beneficial? And using different benefit cost ratio calculations, this is a Canadian study, very comprehensive study from audits around the world, decided there was a 36-to-1, a benefit cost ratio of 36 for design stage road safety audits and 6-to-1 for existing road audits. So looking at the existing road environment and suggesting alterations. So That's great. I mean, that's every dollar you invest in a design stage road safety audit returns $36. It's incredible. Every dollar invested in existing road safety audits was returning $6. That's still incredible. Quick prize for somebody who can tell me why we see so much less awesomeness for existing roads compared to designs, though. Any thoughts on why that might be? Yes, Robert. Oh, it looks like we've got multiple Roberts in this, do we? So Emma, I'll let you work that out. But yeah, easier to change lines and the like, and costs far less money if you're doing these things at design stage. Yeah, there might be slight differences in the cost to build it, but yeah, once the concrete's poured and everything's set and it's an existing road, very expensive. People are very reluctant to change things, and so yeah, the benefit cost is okay. Doing well here. So, what is a road safety audit? What is a road safety audit? Well, Austroads in Part 6 now has quite an extensive definition. In fact, it goes on a whole page, and I'm not going to read you a whole page of words. You can read that yourself. But I do want to extract this little bit, and I want to mention it. Road safety audit is a formal examination of a future road or traffic project or an existing road or road-related area in which an independent qualified team reports on the project's crash potential and actual safety performance respectively. Very important words in here. Road safety audits are a formal exercise, okay? It's not a quick check. It's not a, I'll whip up an audit at lunchtime. No, you go through 8, well, it's 10 now, go through 10 distinct steps, okay? And that's a formal process. Future, so by future roads, we're talking about designs for upgrades or new bus interchanges or new anything that interacts with the road or road-related area. It can be existing roads, so you can audit existing conditions. What's out there? Independent, super important, okay? You cannot undertake a road safety audit of your own design. You cannot undertake a road safety audit of a project that you're project manager of, okay? You must be independent of this. Qualified teams. I will talk to you in our final module about what is sort of qualified as a road safety auditor, what's the accreditation, registration across Australia, and who can do what. But we do need qualified teams. It's not just randomly picking people. And reporting on the project's crash potential. And it's all about, what is the potential for crash? So we operate under this thing called the SAFE system. And some of you have heard this 1,000 times already, but I have to go through it once more for those who may not have seen it. We need to ensure that we are now undertaking road safety audits through this SAFE system lens. Now, the SAFE system, I could talk for many days on the SAFE system, many years on the SAFE system, but has some key elements that we need to think about as road safety auditors. And it might be a little hard for you to see, but there's a principle in the middle of the SAFE system here, this diagram. I picked this one out of the many I could have picked. Human bodies are vulnerable. There's only a certain amount of force we can handle before we break. And we'll get into analysing. People make mistakes. So people make mistakes is a fundamental principle of the SAFE system. It says that people are going to make mistakes out there. We're going to do everything we can to lessen the amount of mistakes that are made, but we need to get our head in the space of trying to design the system to manage those mistakes. And I talk about minimize mistakes, but manage mistakes. And what I mean by manage mistakes is try to think about the energy and the severity of the crashes. And so when we're auditing, we're thinking about trying to stop the crashes happening, absolutely. But then when they do happen, how do we make sure they're not so severe? And that links into our shared responsibility. And we talked about that with the white ute, didn't we? I mean, yes, there's some inappropriate things happening there, but that doesn't mean we can wash our hands as, you know, people responsible for the road or designing the road or making operational change. We can't do that. No, absolutely not. We take a responsibility there. That road could be different. We could change that road environment. What could we have done? And let's be confident that others are working on trying to improve driver behavior. So I think we've got a poll. And Emma, what I'm going to do here is there's a poll that's going to pop up on your screen. Now, I want to tell you all here, you are not being marked on this, okay? Nothing in the live sessions you're marked on, okay? This is just to have a chat about, or for you to have a think about what we've just covered and answer the questions. Now, I want you to answer these, then have a stretch and fill your water up or whatever you want, because we're going to come back into it in 3.5 minutes time. Okay. Well, let's get back into it. I think we had most people having a go there, and we were a little bit tricky, weren't we? Because we put in something at the end there that we certainly hadn't covered. And one of the other questions we sort of glossed over with the safe system diagram that's right on your screen as well. But let's end that, Emma, and let's share the results and have a quick look. So, true or false, a road safety audit is another name for a check against standards, and almost everybody listening intently there and reading that question well, it is not another name for a check against standards at all. True or false, you can audit your own design. False, everybody on the right page there, well done. Which of the following is not considered a formal element of the safe system? So safe attitude, we love everybody to have a safe attitude. It's not a formal element of the safe system. It's the roads and roadsides, people, speeds are the sort of formal elements. And then we had, which is not a common principle of the safe system. Well, eliminating mistakes on the road. I mean, we'd love to eliminate mistakes on the road, but we're realistic. We're dealing with humans. Humans make mistakes. And so what we want to do is minimize and manage, as I said there. And the Usain Bolt one. And why on earth am I asking questions about Usain Bolt? Maybe because it's Commonwealth Games time, but no. Usain Bolt crossing the finish line at a speed of, and I have asked quite a few of you this question before, but 44 kilometers per hour is correct. That was the crossing the finish line speed. And why do I ask that? Well, let's remove this poll, Emma. And why are we asking that in a road safety audit course? Well, I would like you to imagine that we parked a car at the end of Usain Bolt's lane. Or we plant a big tree at the end, for that matter. Comes running down there at 44 kilometers per hour, and then bang, he hits that. Will he survive? Well, the answer is probably yes, and he'll probably recover to lead a normal, healthy life because, well, he's a sort of hulk of a human and can withstand a fair bit of force. Pick any of us mere mortals up, fling us at that car or tree at 44 kilometers an hour, and we'd be in some trouble. But in general, humans evolved to tolerate the force of the speed of their own running ability. But generally, that's your tolerable energy level. And we need to start to factor this into our considerations. Some key principles of the safe system, and I'll come back to that energy that we're talking about with Usain Bolt. Some key principles. We have an aspiration of no death or serious injury. That's what we're aiming for. It's a long way away, but we're aiming. People make mistakes, a shared responsibility, and people. Oh, we've already done the quiz. But let's go back to that energy. So we actually have this information for different crash types with the population. And what we've got here is we've got the chance that an incident will result in death at certain collision speeds. Now, these are collision speeds. These are not speed limits. These are collision speeds. And we see here for car hitting pedestrian, we're talking around, 10, 20, 30 kilometers per hour is where it really starts to go really bad, really quick. That's a sort of exponential kick-up point. There's the great man himself, comes in a little bit higher because this is a graph and a line for sort of the population. So we're going to have Usain Bolt-like people. We're going to also have our grandparents who are going to be much more frail and less force, and then we're going to have weird, crazy incidents up here where people miraculously survive. But that's the general curve. This is what we're designed to withstand. He's okay. He broke a few ribs, came back, won the gold medal the next year. That's what we're designed for. But what about some other crash types? Okay, well, what about a right angle crash? And this is what we call the bullet vehicle, the one that does the damage. This is the target vehicle. So bullet vehicle speed is what we're talking about when we say collision speed. And we see bullet vehicle speed 30, 40, or even around 50 kilometers per hour, direct right angle side impact into that vehicle. And we know, it's a decent chance of survival. Up around 80, 90, 100, there's not good chance of survival for the occupant of the target vehicle being struck by a bullet vehicle at that speed. And for head-on crashes, we know that we're talking about, 50, 60, 70 before it really kicks up and goes really bad really quickly. Up around the 100, 110, likely unsurvivable. And that's the speed for each of these vehicles. Okay, so closing speed would be double that. The actual energy impact is, the equivalent of that speed running into a brick wall. Same speed, same mass, direct head-on crash, same as running into a brick wall at that speed, or the force on the driver or passenger of each vehicle. If you were like standing in the middle of it and got crushed, you'd be double in that. Or if it was like a little mini smart car and a massive B double and it came in and then went back, then you're doubling your energy. But from that perspective, there is a Mythbusters episode that covers that all, if you want, in wonderful Mythbusters fashion of crashing cars into walls and into each other and the like to just actually prove that point. And we've got some snippets down there. But we sort of draw this line around this 10% level where things start to kick up exponentially, right? And those become really important speeds at different crash types, or crash types at different speeds. So we need to think about 30 kilometers an hour pedestrians and cyclists, 50 kilometers per hour side impact, 70 kilometers per hour for these head-on crashes, and think about a crash that we're predicting, will it be above or below that? And that becomes an important consideration. And I've put some more crashes and I've put these impact speed thresholds in there. And you need to have this sort of general consideration of the severity. I'm going to jump through this a bit quicker because I can cover that off in more detail later. The old road safety audit model used to be for us to just identify a hazard, do a risk assessment on that hazard, and recommend a treatment. We still do all of that, but now we sort of identify the hazard, we risk assess it, then we think about that tolerance to the human body and those threshold speeds that we just talked about. And then we make recommendations still, but we sort of categorize those recommendations into how good they are in terms of safe system alignment. I think the easiest way will be for me to just do an example of this to just walk you through it. Now, are we seeing questions coming in there? Yeah, So is it assumed that the head-on, that both vehicles will be traveling at the same speed? Yes, that's an assumption in that. So, okay, so here's an example. We've got a new intersection being built. Okay, and again, it's a design. We're asked to do a road safety audit on the design of this new intersection that's coming along. Okay, so we're looking at that and we're interested, what crashes could happen if they build this just as they've designed it? And one issue that I'm always sort of interested in and concerned about on these sorts of setups is this dynamic visual obstruction issue. And I think it's easiest with these three photos to explain it, and then we'll delve into it a bit more. And again, I just use this as an example of the principles and how we would think about things as a road safety auditor. Okay, this car's waiting to go. It's looking up the road. It can see that truck there. It can see the white cars just next to it. And it comes along up here and goes, oh, beauty, I've got a nice clear run. As soon as that truck's turning left, as soon as that white car's continued past, I'm going to make my right turn. And then that silver car appears. And the whole time it had just been hidden behind the truck. So people would say that's masking, or officially called dynamic visual obstruction. This is a dynamic visual obstruction because it's moving. It's not always there. And we see that just the configuration of that left turn lane has increased the chance that this will happen. So if we come back to that intersection that is proposed, and as a road safety auditor, we think, well, okay, we're a bit worried about the possibility of this, and we've thought about it. And you can see there some words have been put into what we call the audit finding. Okay. Now, I'm not going to go through this in a lot of detail, but the first few things I want to say is, how much easier is it for us to know what's going on because there's a little diagram there? Okay, we've snipped the design, we've put little cars on it, and we've even drawn a little sight line, dotted line. Without even reading any of this, we know what the issue is. Okay, and I really encourage you to do that as road safety auditors. A snip of the design, if you can annotate it and really make it clear, because immediately we know where they're talking about, we know what the issue is, and it's very clear and helpful. But in the words, we have a number of different things. And in my many years of auditing and teaching road safety auditing, I finally, probably about 5 or so years ago, came to the realization that I can actually make a formula of how to write a good road safety audit finding, or a recipe, as some people have now decided I should call it. But I'll break this down to some key elements to try to make it easier. And when you are writing road safety audit findings, we're going to be marking you on this. So make sure you include these elements. The red there is the issue. For the intersection here, vehicles using the left turn lane may create a dynamic visual obstruction for motorists of the hold line looking for through vehicles. Okay, it's explained. The yellow says what crash is going to happen. This increases the likelihood of right through / side impact crashes involving vehicles turning out of the side road. Clearly stated a crash. Now, that's important to go in a road safety audit finding, because if you can't actually say a crash that's going to happen, it's not a road safety audit issue. Okay? Because this is about stopping crashes or preventing the injury within crashes. The blue then sort of elaborates on any factors that are altering the risk there. So the volume of vehicles on the road is low, which reduces the likelihood of the crash. However, the proportion of large vehicles turning left into Epsom Parramatta Road is high, which increases the chance of dynamic visual obstruction occurring. Okay, so it's dotting point some things in there. And then this final one says the design is consistent with current Austroads and VicRoads design guidance. The auditors believe it still presents a safety issue. So in this one, the auditors have said, hey, this technically meets standards. We still think it's an issue, and put it out there. Now, you don't need to put this purple bit, okay? If it's something that clearly doesn't meet standards or guidelines, you'd certainly put that in because it's sort of extra justification on why this is an issue. If it does meet standard guidelines, you're still worried about it, you may like to put a statement like that. You don't have to, but those are the elements. Then you risk rate this. Okay, so we've clearly laid out this issue and we risk rate it. Now, risk equals likelihood times severity or frequency times consequence. I mean, this is the international definition of risk. This is like financial risk, health risk, any type of risk. It's like, what is the chance of bad thing happening? And then when it happens, what's the magnitude of badness? How what's the severity of it? And so, like, what's the risk of recession? Well, what's the chance we go into recession? And then how bad is this recession going to be when we go in? That's the risk of recession. What is the risk of a crash? Well, what's the chance that this crash happens? And then how bad is that going to be? And we do this then for each of the issues that we identify. Now, when I was coming up with this in the newest Austroads release, I spent a lot of time trying to think, how do we make this as useful and clear as possible? I came up with this diagram, working with the others. What we've got here is likelihood. Okay, this is the actual risk matrix now in Austroads, and it's the new one. So use this one. So this is the chance that the crash happens. Now, any of you that do safe system assessments, you'll know exposure is another thing with exposures within likelihood in road safety. We've got almost certain, likely, possible, unlikely, rare. But what does that actually mean? Well, we've given you some time frames where you'd expect those crashes. So as a result of that dynamic visual obstruction that we were looking at, if you believe that that is going to cause a crash every quarter, you would say almost certain. If you say, well, it's going to, it's an issue, but it's really not going to happen, maybe once every 10 years or something, then you're saying it's rare. Okay, but then when the crash happens, what's the severity of it? Insignificant, minor, serious, fatal, moderate? And what we've done is we've put in some information around property damage, minor first aid, major first aid, admitted to hospital, death within 30 days of the crash, to one occupant of the vehicle or one person involved in the crash. So to get to your risk, you say, all right, well, I think it's going to be unlikely and moderate. Well, that's a medium risk. But what's this line here? What's this dotted line here? Well, under the safe system, we're trying to get rid of fatal and serious crashes. That's our aspiration. We know that we're still going to have mistakes and minor things happen on the road network. We don't want them, but anything to the right of the line we're very concerned about. Anything to the left of the line we're just concerned about. So you'll see that you've got high with an FSI and you've got high without the FSI. So that dotted line is there. So if we go back to this, then we might say for this one, we say, well, we think it's rare because we said low volume, just low chance that it's going to happen. We think it's going to be serious when it does happen. The resulting risk is medium, and it's FSI because it's within that serious category. And then, So we've established now the issue, we've established a risk rating for it, and now we want to make some recommendations. And we want to categorize these recommendations into either a primary safe system recommendation or a supporting safe system recommendation. A primary recommendation actually doesn't mean your number one recommendation, as the wording would apply, imply, because you might have many primaries, because it's about how well they align with safe system principles. And you'll see here, road planning, design and management considerations that virtually eliminate the potential for fatal and serious injury crashes occurring associated with foreseeable crash time. Supporting are anything that improves the overall level of safety associated with a foreseeable crash type, but are not expected to virtually eliminate the potential for fatal and serious injury crashes occurring. And then this little other bit doesn't change the ability for us to put a primary treatment in the future. Okay, this is going to be the hardest thing for most of you to get your head around, okay? And I don't expect you in the first time you're seeing it to have your head around this. Don't worry. You can have lots of practice and you get lots of help. The Safe System Assessment Framework, so different document altogether, but it's actually really useful for helping you decide, oh, I think that they should build a roundabout. Is that a primary or a supporting treatment? Well, in this document, it will tell you that, okay? It helps and it categorizes a whole lot of treatments into primary and supporting. And I'll come to questions in a second. I just want to get past this final bit and then we'll answer those. So you then make a recommendation or recommendations as road safety auditors. This one says, implement measures to reduce the speed and or angle of impact dislocation. This could be achieved with a roundabout, P, primary. If this cannot be achieved, implement measures to improve sight lines of dislocation, such as increasing the offset of the left turn lane, relocating the hold line forward, provided that it can be done safely. Supporting. Okay. So on this, you can just have one recommendation, but sometimes that can cause a little bit of an issue. For example, this one, we'd love a roundabout here, okay? And maybe it's at an early stage in the project enough that they're still, thinking about options and, oh, should we go for this? Should we go for that? And that may help. But maybe they're so far progressed in this job that they're locked in with the budget and the specifics of it are so locked in that the roundabout is a ridiculous idea to whoever's receiving this, in the sense that they just go, we can't do that, right? Well, what else can be done to lessen the risk? And so we've got to sort of given some other options there. And that's sort of, to me, sort of being realistic as an auditor. But we're not hiding from the fact that a roundabout would be the highest alignment with safe system principles of this location. And you might have other ideas, right? So that in its totality becomes what we would expect to see as one road safety audit finding. Now, you might have 20 findings, you might have 50 findings of different things you've looked at, right? You might have no findings. Very rare to do a road safety audit where there's no findings, but it does happen. Let's check in for some questions. Emma.
Yes, so we have one here. Based on your likelihood findings, masking of vehicles happens every day, multiple times. How do you make the assumption that the likelihood is less?
Yeah, so
just
the masking,
rare. Yeah.
So it's not that that issue occurs, masking, it's that the crash occurs as a result of that at the severity that we're thinking about, if that makes sense. So this is one that it's important to get your head around as a road safety auditor, is that you are rating the crash, okay? Not how many times will people misinterpret that sign. It's like, or, that's, I'm saying if you've got an odd sign, okay, yeah, people might misinterpret it absolutely every day, every hour. but how many of those will result in an actual crash? That's the risk rating. FSI is fatal and serious injury. Sorry, I should have said that. FSI is fatal and serious injury, and it was to the right of the dotted line in our risk matrix. Anything to that covers off the fatal and serious injury there. So fatal and serious injury is FSI. Oh, looks like people are already helping out.
Yeah, it's great to see everyone helping each other out. And one question at the bottom is, if presenting options, would it help to provide the level of risk for various options?
That is, yeah, that's sort of next level thinking because, well, we've just finished a project for the Asian Development Bank, working in collaboration with IRAP in doing exactly that with star rating and risk rating, different options and the like within road safety audits, called star rating for road safety audit. Not something we're going to include in this course. And the way it happens in practice usually, though, is that we will present these and then have discussions with the client. And it's a bit more collaborative at that end of the audit. But if you can articulate that quite clearly in your recommendations, which is better, which is the better risk reduction, which is the lesser risk reduction, that's very helpful. And what may also happen is that the client, whoever receives this audit, may ask you for particular advice or to provide some commentary around which is best and what sort of reductions you might be expecting. And that might be something that you could provide an extra memo on. But happy to sort of show people the way you could do it in a more formalized manner. It's not something that's done in Australia yet, but I think it could be a really valuable approach. I better keep moving on, Emma, to give you a bit of time to introduce the exercise. And I just happened to be having a chat with Jamie, and Bob and Jamie were talking about something, and I thought, oh yeah, I'd talk about that in the road safety audit course. I should put a little diagram of that. So similar issue came up on a design, and even within the road safety audit, we went a little bit above and beyond what you'd usually do and sort of sketched up how it could look by utilizing a bike lane to open up the sight lines there. And that actually ticked off multiple, helped in multiple concerns we had in the design, because one was that dynamic visual obstruction, but another was the number of bike riders we saw while we were out there as an audit team, which was a bit, I suppose, a little bit more surprising to us. And they were not really going to have any separation going through that intersection. So the bike lane opens up sight lines for a vehicle that's propped here, and also gives the riders a bit of space between the left-turning vehicle and the straight vehicle. Little tip there, but so to be a primary safe system treatment, it's really going to have to address the consequences of the crash, the severity, or it's going to have to virtually eliminate the possibility of the crash happening, which has to take into account human error. So people falling asleep or running a red light or these sorts of things. So you'll get some practice at working on what's primary and what's supporting, and have a look at that Austrade Safe System Assessment document, which we've put into your resources. Last thing I want to say is in the full table that you provide this area and you leave it blank, and responsible officer, which is whoever gets the report, and it is just a reminder, hey, do something with this, right? Respond to it. You don't need to accept what we're saying. Just make comment as to, yep, I accept that, going to do something about that. No, we disagree completely for these reasons. That's all fine. But we as auditors, we leave a blank column there. I do have another example I could run through. I'll do it very quickly. Here we see we've got a design. It looks like they're putting a new set of traffic signals in here. And you can see immediately from the fact that they put a snip of the design, there's an arrow. Immediately I go, okay, they're concerned with a 2.9 meter wide right turn lane. Fair enough. Okay, so we don't even need to read all this because this has done a beautiful job, but there's lots of good stuff in there. You can see a risk ratings in there. And then thinking about the tolerance to physical force. And sorry, I'm jumping through quickly here. The 2.9 meter wide lane, there's a Wally helping through to catch up on a little bit of time here. So in terms of wording these, go back to that formula, because a poor example of an audit finding, the wording, would be to say something like, right turn bay is too narrow without a snip or anything like that. I mean, I get that. I'd go, which right turn bay? And what's the issue with, there's so many questions to ask there. What would be better is, right turn bay from main road to side road. It increases the chance of side swipe or rear end crashes, and OST roads wants a 3.3 meter minimum. So we've got some more flesh on the bone there. But the gold standard here, and has the snip, so we know what's going on. And it's got all of these words, which we could then break down into their specific elements, which is the issue, the crash that could happen, the risk factors, and standards and guidelines, if applicable. So try and get back to that formula. Okay. Road safety audit. Here's just a few things that they are not. Okay. Not that check of compliance with standards. It's also not an assessment of the overall merits of a project. That becomes quite important. I mean, you're just there to identify issues with that project. That can be a hampering element of a road safety audit, that is just pointing out issues. It's not saying this is, a wonderful road safety project that's going to save many lives. No, what it's saying is that, we're concerned with this specific aspect of it. So it doesn't quite do that. Safe system assessment, on the other hand, they're a wonderful tool for showing the value of a project. A road safety audit is a different exercise, not a means for justifying one project option against another. We don't use road safety audits to rank project options. It's not a substitute for a quality assurance process. It's not a crash investigation, and it's not the usual sort of asset check, visual inspection. And there's a number of other things that are in there. I'm not going to read through all of that. It's not a workplace health and safety check as well. So that's one that there can be a bit of, thinking about, people wearing the right high-vis vest. Are they, doing the right sort of behaviours? That's not really in terms of their health and safety our concern as road safety auditors. You might certainly point that out to them because safety is front of mind for us, but we're really thinking about the road, the signs, the lines, the road users, and the safety of the workers in terms of what the vehicles and the public could do to those workers. Now, a road safety auditor is a problem finder. And I find that new auditors, they find it really hard to just find problems. Not because they can't find the problems, but because they solve them immediately. And what we see are people coming up with audit findings like the intersection should be a roundabout. Okay. And that's not an audit finding. That's like a potential solution to some problem that you haven't actually laid out for us. And like technically, auditors don't need to help solve problems. Okay, that's just how our industry has evolved. And we help with all of these recommendations to try to inject the best road safety outcomes in. Our job is just to find issues. In fact, New South Wales, they don't even let their auditors write any recommendations. Just find us all the problems. We'll solve them. Don't you worry about that. Now, the rest of the country in New Zealand will want the auditors to have a bit of a say in how this could be, how the risk could be lessened. But just really finding problems is what we're out to do. And there's overlap between a lot of these techniques. We've got audits, we've got design reviews, we've got safe system assessments, we've got safety in design, which is, can it be built safely? Can it be managed safely? Can it be decommissioned safely? And we've got DDA, Disability Discrimination Act, can all road users of all abilities use this, people in wheelchairs, vision impaired, and the like. There's a lot of overlap between these things. Each have their own use and cover different things. But I just want you to be aware they're all different beasts. Okay, what can we audit? So what can have a road safety audit done on? Well, pretty much anything that interacts with the road. Big projects, small projects, innovative projects, even things like off-road shared paths, cycleways, they can be subject to road safety audits as well. So really useful across a whole lot of different things. Quick one here. Here's a road, intersection of two roads, unsealed here, okay? Sealed road here, intersection, high speed. The local government here has this project that they're going to do, which is simply to seal this road and formalise the intersection. And they're doing it all according to their standards and guidelines and the like. And that's what it's going to produce. Now, as a road safety auditor, which you will be shortly, what issues do you think may appear as a result of this? What road safety issues could appear as a result of this? Well, just upgrade. We're improving things here, aren't we? Sealing the area nicely, formalising that intersection. Everything's looking good. Pop it into the chat. What concerns might you have? Okay, we've got some great answers in there. And just for the sake of time, I'm going to just run through it. A few of you got the immediate thing that I wanted. I can't work out who it was. Emery, if you can work it out, who said this the quickest and the like. Between this, if you are coming up here at high speed, the road environment, it's quite a change, and it's quite clear that there's something very different. Now everything kind of looks the same as you're coming up there in that straight alignment through. Plus, it's the different color. It's sealed. Let's have a look at it from here. Now you can see here driving along. It's straight. The road sort of looks like it continues. Got some nice little visual deceit in terms of enhancing that see-through effect. So similar to what we talked about before. Now, the really tragic part of this one was they did this work, the council, and they didn't do a road safety audit because they said, we are upgrading the road. I mean, this was their justification. We're upgrading the road. We're improving things, and we're following all of our standards and guidelines. We're just making things better here. Well, people who were killed and seriously injured at this intersection would disagree that it's better. And there was quite a significant increase in death and serious injury. There were other contributing factors probably as well, which was increased traffic and increased speed, and some of you pointed this out as well, but certainly we did see a large increase in overshoot, death and serious injury in that way. That's an example. Even if things, look, that independent set of eyes, really important. So just finally, we have different types of road safety audit, okay? And they are done at different stages: before anything's built, during the building process, after it's been built. The feasibility stage, I call them the planning audit sometimes, very high level, where are the interchanges going to be? How are people from up here going to get down here? Are they going to, is this the right intersection or interchange form? That sort of stuff. You might get a bit more detail thinking about where breaks are going to be and the like. Feasibility is early. We then get into the preliminary and concept stage, and we get a bit more meat on it. We're starting to see where lanes are. We're starting to see bike facilities, how it all fits in. It may be on a survey base like this. It may be on an aerial image, more likely on an aerial image, but you're starting to get a bit more detail. Then you get into the detailed design, right? And this is where you get the works. You get the long sections, the cross sections. You get the line marking plan, signage plan, signal phasing, pavement, drainage. You get it all, and you've got to work through all of that looking for these issues before they're built. I'm going to jump past a couple of those. Construction, is doing the same process, looking for issues about what they're planning to do in terms of all of those temporary signage things. Pre-opening is after, just before they cut the ribbon. Did they get the RRPMs right? If they got the line marking right, barriers the right height, overlaps of the barriers right? There's an example of one that didn't get a pre-opening audit, and they've put in the stencil the wrong way. So, a vehicle going forward and a vehicle turning right. We're going to have a forced conflict. They're the kind of things we want to weed out. An existing condition, so it's there, it's existing. What risks does it present? And the last thing are these thematic audits or thematic audits. They have a particular theme: cycling, walking, motorcycling. You actually need to have somebody in those shoes or in that saddle, and they undertake the audit as well as others, and you get that information. We'll talk about those more a little bit later on. Okay.
There's a question. Yeah, we've got a question. At what stage of the audit do you believe is the most valuable to the process, Ken?
I used to always say the earliest possible stage, right? As early as you sort of possibly can. I wouldn't say that anymore, the feasibility stage, because I would say that it's more valuable to do a safe system assessment at the feasibility stage of a project than a road safety audit. And if you have that proper process in and you do a safe system assessment early on, then at the next sort of iteration of design, concept, preliminary style design is a really wonderful time to do audit, because you can weed out some big issues. And then detailed design is a great time as well to get those absolute refinements. So that's the kind of process we like to see. Okay, so this week's assignment is one and should be just a bit of fun, and it shouldn't take you long, okay? We're going to give you a random topic. Emma's got the random topic generator ready to go, which we'll do shortly. And it's going to give you a particular road safety topic. And what we want you to do is a little bit of research into that topic. We don't want you spending days researching it. We just want you to do a bit of Googling, a bit of looking around, and find some info on that topic, okay? Then we want you to create a little video or a fact sheet or a cartoon or a podcast or a interpretive dance, a TikTok. We don't care exactly how you do it. We just want you to capture some information about road safety and this topic, and ideally relating it back to road safety auditing sort of thinking, what specific aspects of this present risks or the like, or why is this a good treatment, or what is it about this treatment? And then you submit that. And we will give prizes for the most creative way to present the information, the most technically sound, and the most engaging. You will be marked on it. You need to get 80% or above. Now, that shouldn't be too hard, because we're fairly, as long as you put in some information about this that's related to road safety and the like, that's enough. The creativeness and engaging is just for getting the prize and extra bits and pieces. We will share all of them with everybody. There'll be a central spot, so you'll be able to see what other people do. Emma will bring this up shortly. Steal the screen whenever you want. There you can see lots of these different road safety topics out there, and you'll do a little bit of searching on them. Some fun ones in there, like the dilemma zone, dwell on red. Truck lanes are in there. Somebody's going to get an advantage there. We've already talked a bit about truck lanes, advanced warning signs. Emma, I'm tipping you're going to struggle to take the screen, aren't you? Audit, you've done it. Here we go. Random topic generator.
And here we go. Feel free to insert your own generating music. I'm going to hit the button. Oh, it's not letting you do it.
Here we go. Let's go. Oh, there we go. It's randomly generating. You can probably see your name there. Now, we will send you this just so you remember.
There we go. I've generated. They're the topics. Okay. Don't panic if you can't see it. I will email the list to everybody. So
good. Robert Scott slip lane stand-up angles. That's a good one. I love that topic. It's a beauty. So if you struggle to find information on it, get in contact with us. As I say, don't spend many hours on this. Just get us something. Be creative if you want. Get us some good little bits of info. Now, Emma, do you want to quickly show the learning management system and the quiz? There it is. Beautifully done.
Thank you. So this is our learning management system, and I know most of you have already logged in and had a look around. So this is where you will find the recordings from each session, resource documents. If you do need the link to any of our sessions, you can certainly find it at the top. This is where you popped your introductions and things like that. So this is module 1. So there is some additional resources there as well. And here is your quiz. So you have a quiz after most of our sessions that you'll need to do, as well as your research topic. So once you have put together and recorded your interpretive dance, or whatever you're going to do for your research topic, you'll just select this option here. Here is some more instructions for you that Ken's already gone through. I'll also pop the list of who's doing what in this section as well. All you have to do is add your submission, and then just scroll down, and then you'll be able to just drop the file here, or you can certainly select the file adding option as well if that doesn't work. But there's plenty of memory there, so it should all work very well, and then you would just save changes once you've submitted it.
Right.
Yep.
And if you just go back and show where those resources are.
Sure will. There we go. We have the pre-course video that you would have looked at, in some reference documents and things. Off-road guides. There we go. There's the course information is the agenda, another Wally sheet if you need one of those for the next few sessions, and here the research assignments. So once everyone's completed their research assignments and submitted them and they're marked, I will upload them to that section so you can all have a look at what's there. And then at the bottom, in a couple of hours, I'll pop the recording of today's session there as well for you to be able to view.
Thanks, Emma. That's excellent. So do the quiz, 10 questions. One will be about how many times Wally appeared. And do your assignment. We'll send out the topic. Hopefully you saw your own topic on screen and you're ready to go. Get in contact if you've got any issues or you're struggling at all, or you want to be pointed at a bit of information about that topic, or you say, I don't even know what this is. I Googled it and I can't find anything. What on earth is this? And there's a question about when the assignment is due, so I'll let you look that up. It is in Moodle. When you get to that assignment point, it will give you a due date, but I would expect it's maybe, by the end of the week or something?
Oh, it's actually Sunday, which is...
That's fun.
So, okay. yeah. So you have the weekend to complete it as well. So
Yeah.
There you go.
But as we say, don't spend hours, or certainly not all your whole week. Don't cancel your weekend plans to do that assignment. There should be able to do it quite quickly. Log in a little bit early before next session, because there'll be a little bit of trivia and a chance to win a prize. But thank you all for the wonderful contribution today. Love the interaction. Look forward to the next session.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on Thursday. Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.